it was crazy. They'd be in the passenger seat because the camera's so big they're filming with. They're like scrunched up sideways in the passenger seat trying to get like a natural angle, and I'm slamming on the brakes and they're like going forward as I'm trying to like avoid snake. Like, sorry, like, make sure you're strapped in. Yeah, we actually ran out of gas. Did they leave this in there?
Yes,
They did.
They sure did, my guy. They
Yeah,
sure
that
did.
was funny, dude. I was so like excited and nervous for them to get there. I'm just gonna scroll off of it. But if in the first microsecond of you watching it, you sort of see some movement or some action, or like it could be a snake moving on the road and a hand reaching down to grab it, like in the first couple frames, or it can be, just right in the middle of turning over some juicy looking cover, and there's a snake under it.
I
I found that those
Yeah.
videos just consistently people want to keep watching. And it was like, I remember I had all these women who would come, girls my age, 20-year-old girls, come into my DMs and they would message me. And I was like, this is like so cool. Like in my flesh, this was like all I would have wanted a couple months ago. But now I'm like trying to like walk for like what I think is honorable to Christ. Like, I showed that I moved it off the road. I took like a little picture with it before I like, made sure it could fly and took it on its way. And I guess I had somebody on my private story at the time who didn't like me, and they sent it in to all these people and got me in trouble essentially with the law.
Welcome to Working with Wildlife, where I, your host, Jaden Lunt, speak to experts and enthusiasts in different fields of nature to find out how and why they do what they do. We cover a range of different topics with my guest today, such as why he loves wildlife so much, how he's able to make a living in the online space, and we also cover some more of the more personal topics and some of the challenges that he has faced. He has been called the evangelical Steve Irwin, and he hails from America. Please welcome to the show, David Orin. David, thank you very much, my guy, for coming on to the podcast. It is an absolute pleasure to be able to see you and meet you now. I've seen your stuff over the years, and it's fantastic to finally see the guy on the other side of the screen.
Thank you for having me, Jaden. I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
I love it. Now, starting off, how's the weather going up there in America? And have you gone out herping at all in this year so far, and have you had much success?
Yeah, good question. It's definitely pretty cold. I've heard that it's an El Nino, like warm, wet winter, but it hasn't felt too warm yet. Definitely wet, which is good. We need the rains. We did have a little bit of a warm front come through like last week, and lasted for like 4 days. And that was nice. I was able to get up and find my first 5 snakes of the year. There were some cottonmouths under one piece of tin, so that was cool. And then,
cool.
And then me and my guys, we went out to South Georgia actually, and we found 2 eastern diamondback rattlesnakes basking in like riprap, like the rock that like lines bridges. And I know like
I saw that.
many species do that, but like that was kind of not many rattlesnakes have been documented doing that in like the Southeast. So a lot of herpers were kind of swiping up and being like, whoa, that's cool. So that was neat. Yeah.
Okay, sweet. And what state are you from, did you say?
I'm from Florida. Yeah. So
Florida right now. And so
very bottom there. Yeah.
Very bottom of it. Okay, right on. And do you have many plans for the year ahead?
I'm from Central Florida, but yeah, bottom of the U.S. My bad.
Okay, so there's, where you live. I swear.
I know where I live. Yeah.
Now, with this year ahead, I should clarify also, I do want to get into your story of how you are making a living online, and also how you've kind of gotten to where you sit today. How do you have any plans for the year ahead? You're a well-known herper across YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. Do you have any plans for trips for the coming year at all?
Yeah, I actually do. For a while there, they were kind of nebulous. Like, oh, I know I'm going to have a busy spring, but I finally nailed down some dates we're going to be doing. I can actually say it because she's not here right now. Surprising my wife for Valentine's Day. We just got married very recently. So Valentine's Day will also be our 6th month anniversary. And I'll be taking her to Cancun for a couple of days down in Mexico. She doesn't know about the flight, doesn't know about the Airbnb, so that'll be cool. And maybe we'll poke around and do a little bit of herping there. It's not really a herp trip, but we'll see.
Yeah, my man.
That'd be pretty special. And then let me think what else here. in March. We got in early March, me and some of my guy friends. Some of them herpers, some of them just sort of guys that I herp with, and they're fun. We're gonna go out,
Yeah.
do sort of like a partial west trip, Louisiana, East Texas, and then South Texas. That'll be really neat. Hopefully, lots of king snakes and milk snakes and stuff, kind of. And then in April, we have a total eclipse happening in the US. So Emma and I are going to run up for a couple of days, like a week, and do some herping and view the eclipse. That'll be really cool. Maybe it'll,
Nice.
I think we might see like one of those like dusk pushes, where the snakes start to move right as it goes dark during the eclipse. That'll be interesting.
Yeah. Okay.
And then a big 2-week trip in May with Emma, going up to uh, Mississippi, Arkansas, and then for the first time ever, I'll be going to Oklahoma and Kansas, and I'm really excited about that because I know the herping up there in the Midwest is really cool. I've just never gotten a chance to go. So if all goes according to plan, we'll be doing that in May. And then in June and July, going to West Texas to look for the Alterna, the gray banded king snakes out in the cuts out there. And that's kind of a big US herp thing. That's really cool. So I never found one, but hopefully this year's the year. So yeah.
Dude, you sound like you got a fire year ahead of you. That's fantastic.
I'm excited. Yeah, Lord willing. So it'll be cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And with now, you said you've been married for 6 months.
Yeah.
We're about and this will be your first Valentine's Day. So sweet idea. How long have you known Emma for?
Yeah, I've actually known her work coming up on 4 years come July. So
right on,
yeah.
right on.
Yeah.
And did you guys, when you got married, did you go herping up somewhere for your honeymoon, or was it just like, okay, let's just hang out for a little bit?
It depends on who you ask. I think for Emma it was a honeymoon. For me, it was a little bit of a herp trip and a honeymoon. We actually didn't see many of our targets, but it was still cool. We found our lifer Texas horn lizard, one of those little horny toad guys. I mean, you guys have the thorny devils over there in Australia. And these are sort of our version. And that was really cool for her to see. So, yeah.
Okay, dope. Fantastic.
Yeah.
And now with your online world, it's very cool when someone can live online. So you do what you love. You love herping, you love traveling, and you love just experiencing wildlife. You love experiencing creation and trying to share that love with people.
Mm-hmm.
So
absolutely,
since you were a kid, you've loved wildlife. Now, how did you get into this online world? Just a quick snippet, and then we'll go in deeper later. But how were you introduced to filming and online and showing people wildlife?
Yeah. I think in brief, I stumbled across Coyote Peterson on YouTube, and because in my brain, watching Steve Irwin grow up and Austin Stevens and the Kratt brothers and some of those guys, I kind of thought like you had to have a TV show. And I stumbled across Coyote Peterson on YouTube when I was like 16. I was like, oh, like we've evolved. Like we can now start doing stuff online, I guess. Interesting. But that still felt very unattainable. But I got an opportunity to meet and work with Coyote on like an episode one time. And he was really encouraging.
Awesome.
And he was like, yeah, like, you could have your own YouTube. And for a long time, that was kind of like what I was building for, but I was very insecure, very unsure of myself. I still am in some ways, but definitely a lot more back then. And a lot of the stuff I filmed, I wouldn't go anywhere. And then TikTok came around, and I had some friends encourage me to download it. I tried to put out some content on there that I was proud of. It flopped. And then a random 9-second video of a black racer I caught, one of the most common snakes in the US, that went mega viral and overnight. And that was like just incredible. I mean, such a blessing. And then from there, it was like, can lightning strike twice? Is there any consistency to this? And there was. And I sort of got into a groove of short format videos, which was never what I was passionate about, the short format stuff, but it sort of got the job done and gave me an ability to sort of do what I want more full time and work towards like long format and YouTube and stuff. So.
Yeah. And because, there is that short form and long form content style. Now, as with herping,
Mhm.
we touched briefly just before before we started. Are there any regulations or challenges that you've had to kind of that you've come up against in your pursuit of this online world of filming for where you are right now?
Definitely. Florida is kind of a tough state to be in. We have FWC as our wildlife commission, and they can be pretty strict game wardens compared to other states. Of course, there's going to be good people in the system and not so good people, and I sort of had my fair share of both. I've run
Mm.
into game wardens before in Florida who are like, "Oh, cool! What are you doing, man? Looking for snakes? That's awesome! Here's what I found lately." And then you run into guys who are going to sort of hassle you more, or give you a harder time.
Okay.
Technically, there's no, like you were mentioning Australia, like all wildlife is sort of off limits. In Florida, that's not the case. You have to, if you want to collect certain species out of the wild as like pets, then some species are off limits, or some species have like a limit of how many you can collect, which doesn't apply to me because I don't collect anything out of the wild. I just catch and
Yeah.
release everything. That's what I enjoy. And then for venomous snakes, all the venomous species in Florida, you have to have a permit if you want to catch those and keep them as pets.
Okay.
And then with alligators, the laws are sort of pretty strict of like, don't do anything that could be considered harassment. So for all intents and purposes, I don't interact with alligators, but if I did, I wouldn't be able to show those videos anyway. So yeah,
Right on.
yeah,
Okay, so that is a bit loose. That is the grip is not so tight over there. Is
not
that
so tight. Yeah.
across America? Is that pretty much the case across all states? That it's fairly loose and you can go catch whatever you want.
Very state by state, but typically, yeah. I mean, some states don't have like any restrictions. There's certain federally endangered or protected species like the eastern indigo, but by and large, yeah, you can go ahead and do catch mostly anything in the U.S. without repercussion. I mean, I don't know
Amazing.
all the state by state laws, but from following a lot of herpers, I know Texas, you have to like acquire a permit if you want to uh, look for snakes out in the West Texas cuts and some stuff like that.
Okay.
But it's just interesting. A lot of it's kind of geared towards like collectors and like limits on collectors,
Mm.
and then sometimes they'll kind of twist the law back on somebody else if they don't really like what you're doing. But so
Yeah. Okay. And with what you know of the American laws,
sure.
what is the purpose of not having these laws? What are they, I guess, geared toward, to use your terminology? Because in Australia, we're very much about protect the wildlife, and protect
Sure.
the wildlife. If it's native,
Sure.
don't
It's
touch
cool.
it. It's so very. I don't agree with everything, but that's
Sure.
just how the law is.
Sure.
What's like the mindset behind the lack of laws? Have you not had many problems with people poaching wildlife, and so it's all good, or it's just such a big, there's so much diversity and such a range of environments and people that they've just given up on it?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say I don't think they ever had it under control. I mean, it's just interesting to hear, like when you're saying that you go on snake calls and you get like 6 calls a day, and there's like a lot of people I know who in Australia are snake catchers. Like, yeah, we have snake catchers in the U.S., but that's like kind of hard to come by, and it's a really hard living because most people just kill snakes in America. I mean, the vast majority just kill them. I'm sure people kill them over there in Australia too, time and again, but
Yeah, yeah, man.
so many people. I mean, you hear only good snake's a dead snake. I mean, so often.
Ugh, straight
Yeah,
up.
I mean, it's 90% of the population at least out here doesn't like snakes or will kill them. Like 90,
Wowzers.
95. It's a lot.
Wow.
So that being said, I mean, it'd be nice if we had laws, but I guess like that's the thing. Like, you'd never be able to enforce it on the people who actually need enforcing it on. And instead, it sort of just comes back to bite people like me in the butt who are trying to like help some of the restrictions. Like I actually know in the
Mm,
past, I had a run in with FWC. There was I guess, a protected species of owl called a burrowing owl. And I had
mm,
found one injured in the highway while driving. and a truck was coming, and I actually moved this owl off the road because it was limping. I think it kind of grazed a car, but wasn't mortally injured. And I moved it off the road so a truck didn't kill it completely. A little bird. And I remember I had posted on my like private story, I showed that I moved it off the road. I took like a little picture with it before I made sure it could fly and took it on its way. And I guess I had somebody on my private story at the time who didn't like me, and they sent it in to all these people and got me in trouble essentially with the law. And they came and they knocked on my door and they said, "Hey, you can't touch this species." And I explained to them everything. I said, "Look, I was helping it. I have video of me helping it. I was supposed to be my private story." And they said, "Oh, we don't care. We're going to give you a warning. If it happens again, you can get a fine or jail time." So kind of sucks.
Right
I think, I feel like there's a lot of room for improvement within the FWC in Florida. So, yeah.
Yes. And so does FWC stand for Federal Wildlife Police?
I think it's a Florida Wildlife Commission.
FWC.
Yes, FWC. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, right.
It varies state to state. Yeah, either that or Fish and
Okay.
Wildlife. I think it's Florida Wildlife Commission. Yeah.
Okay, right on. And is that pretty much the only kind of run-in with the law that you've had to kind of explain your situation to, was with that burrowing owl?
Yeah, more or less. I mean, there was one time I was down in Everglades National Park, and a similar situation. There was a crocodile that was crossing the road, and we actually stopped traffic because sometimes people will come late at night into Everglades National Park and they'll do fishing and stuff, and they just don't really care about like the wildlife and the roads. So we pulled our car across the lane and stopped traffic to make sure that the crocodile wouldn't get run over. And I, while we were doing that, I filmed a video. I was sort of walking 6 feet or 7 feet behind the crocodile, talking about it while it walked across the road. So once again, I sort of have haters, or I have people who sort of are out to get me. And they filed complaints, and they said I affected the croc's behavior negatively, and I ended up getting like a ticket for that. But those are the only two things. And both of them, it's sort of like, well, like the Lord knows and vindicates like my heart behind that. Like, of course I wasn't trying to hurt anything. Of course I was only trying to, like care about his creation and comply with 100%. The law as the best I could. So, yeah.
Interesting, right? Okay, so that's interesting because, like, for a country and states that are so loose on wildlife, you both times it's for the sake of the wildlife that you are having this interaction.
Yeah,
sure, you film it, but that's not a crime to film something. What's happening? It's happened. This is just video evidence, and yet they have a problem with it. That's interesting.
Yeah, and again, I think hopefully I'm sort of making friends in higher places, and hopefully that'll one day lead to sort of some conversations, and we can sort of see we're on the same team with wanting to conserve wildlife. I'm not sure that's what everybody at FWC wants to do, but maybe in their own way they do. So hopefully we'll get there. So, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Now, I'd like to kind of move into like your filming experience and kind of the learning around there, because it's very cool that you just previously, before the conversation started filming, we found out that you're actually full-time online. The last time you had a real job, I guess, was in 2020, 2021 at that pizza shop. And now you're full-time online. What has been kind of the process of you getting paid to be a clip collector, which if you could explain a bit of what that is, of what a clip collector is, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'll try to give a little bit more of a summarized version that I gave you earlier. Essentially, there's a creator called Ross Smith, and he runs a couple of popular Snapchat shows, where they sort of collect some of the most viral videos from online, like in the current week or current couple weeks, and they compile them and put out episodes twice a week of the most viral clips. So my job is to sort of scroll TikTok for a couple hours a day or Instagram or whatever, and sort of find that viral short form content, message the creator, get permission to use it. We don't own it or anything. We're just saying like, can we just use this? And if they say yes, then we share it in our show, and I get commission for each clip I collect. And it's only like $4 per clip. But they add up, and there's bonuses if you do so many in a day or so many in a week. So it adds up really nicely. And that's been my main consistent source of income for the past 2 years now. So
Mm.
it's a
And
huge blessing.
was absolutely, absolutely. As when you left your job, that was the when you had this opportunity as a clip collector. Was that was the defining moment when you left your old pizza job?
Yeah, it's sad. I in so many ways I love my pizza job because I was a delivery driver, so I could always hurt while I would deliver pizzas.
Which
But
is
it did take
crazy
up a lot
cool.
of
That's just
time.
crazy.
It was cool. It was so fun, but it kept me from taking like long trips and stuff. And the pay for the hours wasn't adding up compared to the new job. So yeah, that definitely sort
Yeah.
of enabled me to move away from that for a time and try to do more trips and more content. So it was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, and also part of this content and online journey for yourself. When you're at the pizza joint, you also had a mini documentary done on you
Yeah.
by Vice, turns out,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
SBS on demand, I think, is where I saw it. But what was the process around them reaching out to you and your experience being filmed, being followed, preparation for the documentary, and that sort of feel? Because you would have been doing clips since you were about 16 then when you first found out. You jumped onto that pretty quickly, would you say? Went like doing content and online filming, or was that more so
Um,
a little
no,
later?
I only started doing like online stuff in 2020. I would have been right before my 21st birthday.
Okay, right before. Okay, so in 2020.
Yeah,
So since 2020,
2020.
you've
Hmm.
so for past 4 years, give or
Yeah,
take,
yes, sir. Yeah.
you've been doing content. So what was the process? How did they reach out? How did you feel when they reached out? Was it like, were you excited? This is a moment of like, whoa, I'm going to be filmed. This is totally wild. I'm going to be able to do a film on my life and wildlife. Like,
Yeah.
what was that whole experience for you?
Excited and nervous. I mean, for the longest time growing up, watching some of those wildlife TV shows, that's sort of been like the real. I think it's moved on now, but for a while that was kind of the real dream to like kind of have a TV show,
Mm,
and that seemed really special. And even in the more recent years, I had TV show opportunities pop up, and all of them just have gone nowhere.
mm,
So it was kind of cool, sort of like, all right, this isn't a TV show, but it is a professional doc, and that'll be neat. And I had I watched a good bit of Vice before, and I enjoyed a lot of what they did. I knew they're very secular, sort of like a very just morally like liberal company. So I was a little bit nervous. I knew they would sort of want to, like they sort of told me up front, like, yeah, we find the Christian angle quirky and interesting. So I was like, okay, a little bit of like guards raised. I actually had it was sort of like a more of a
okay.
prayerful consideration. I talked to a couple friends and pastors and stuff, and it was like, should I take this opportunity? Like because they can film whatever they want, but then they can edit it a certain way. Like I don't know, like
Mm,
maybe it's not even wise to do. But I really wanted to. I wanted to use it as an opportunity to preach the gospel. And I will say there was a lot of sharing about Christ and what he did on the cross, for the sins of his people that did not make it to the documentary.
mm,
But I will say they also did not. I don't feel like they really sabotaged me in any way. I don't feel like they.
mm.
I felt like the
No,
editors were pretty fair overall, and I felt like pretty represented pretty well. A couple things were sort of focused on that they sort of saw like were a little bit more fringe or a little overemphasized, I think, looking back at it. Again, like I would have just loved for the meat of the gospel to sort of be what was front and center.
portrayed. Yep, yep.
Yeah, but it was still cool, really cool opportunity. And I had probably since then 7 or 8 or 9 Christians, maybe even more, message me on
Mm,
Instagram over the years and say, "Hey, I saw this documentary and I was really encouraged by it." And that was just that made it worth it. I mean, that was just like
for
so
sure.
cool to know that brothers and sisters around the world were sort of being encouraged by that. So that was really special.
Yeah, yeah, to feel like you had an impact, which is kind of what you're after, and you want to make an impact, and you were
Yeah,
able to make an impact.
yeah. So that's cool.
With the reaching out from Vice, what were some of the expectations that they put forwards that they required for you to make a good documentary. What was the experience like being followed by a camera, and in regards to setting up shots? And a couple questions, I know, but then what would be, did you learn anything from that experience that has helped you with your content creation?
Yeah, man, it was. I'm trying to think. I mean, they were filming with heavy duty cameras, so
Yeah, like
everything
the
they
big
were
fellas.
filming with, like I have a younger brother named Luke, and he went to film school, and he is sort of like does a lot of what they do with like documentary stuff. Like you got the lighting and the camera angle. I mean, they'd adjust it for like an hour, before we'd start shots sometimes. So
Wow.
that was cool to see, but definitely over my head in terms of practicality with my own content. Because I shoot on my iPhone, everything as of now. But it was really neat. I mean, I'll tell you what though, the pressure was on for finding snakes, and
Mm,
I did poorly at herping. I guess every herper knows that. You have good days and bad days, and you have days where conditions seem perfect, and you keep getting skunked. You
yeah.
know what's going on, and that was what kept happening. We had like perfect warm March weather, and I was trying for like the most common species I could. I just wanted like a snake, and I think we only saw two the entire time we were filming, and they were
Yeah, I
some of the
think
most
I required
pitiful
to.
examples
Yeah.
I'd ever seen of like a water snake. So that aspect was rough, but it was still cool to sort of have them. I mean, it was crazy. They'd be in the passenger seat because the camera's so big they're filming with. They're like scrunched up sideways in the passenger seat, trying to get like a natural angle. And I'm slamming on the brakes, and they're like going forward as I'm trying to like avoid snake. I'm like, sorry, like make sure you're strapped in. Yeah, we actually ran out of gas. Did they leave this in there? Did
Yes,
you? They
they
did.
sure did, my guy. They
Yeah,
sure
that was
did.
funny, dude. I was so like excited and nervous for them to get there. I had meant to get gas when I was coming back from a delivery, and I forgot pizza delivery. And I totally forgot. And then they got there, and I was like, "Well, let's just like go and film real quickly with me before it gets dark." And we got out there, and my car died, and I was like, "I'm so sorry. I can't believe I forgot." So that was humbling. Yeah, that was a good time.
Straight up, man. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I would be feeling so like I'm getting filmed right now, and I just ran out of battery or fuel.
It
But
was
yeah,
tough.
it would have been so like such definitely an awkward moment for
Yeah.
oneself. Just this is my
I
debut
tried to spin
moment.
it.
I'm
I
gonna
was like, "Hey
make it.
guys." Yeah, I was like, "Hey, like all part of the plan. Let's just go hiking instead." And they reluctantly walked around with me a little bit, and then the guy showed up with gas. It was funny. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Look, I could see that's what I was that's what you were trying to do, and yeah, I was wondering about what the filmmakers, the videographers were thinking.
Yeah.
When you were being followed, was it just one cameraman and a producer? What was the team that you usually worked with?
I think it was three guys. If I'm remembering correctly, two guys and a woman. It's actually been a while. I mean, I think it came out like 6 months after we did it, so it's been a while now. But yeah, it was two guys and a girl, and the two guys would sort of be the main ones on camera, and the girl would sort of she sort of had like the storyline kind of in mind for like some of what we wanted to
Okay.
capture. Um, and they sort of took, maybe there was four in total actually, and they took turns with like audio and making sure I was mic'd up real well. The camera guys did. I want to say
Yeah.
at all times there's usually only one camera on me though. Maybe once or twice, maybe a guy like walk around doing like B-roll, and then one camera on me
Yes.
is sort of what we did.
Yeah.
For a lot of
Yeah.
it.
And with what you learned, you said you usually you do everything on your phone for
Mhm.
filming. Was there anything that you've been able to implement to your filming or your ideology or your mindset in regards to preparing content?
You know, not much. I mean, not from the Vice thing. I mean, I used to play around and film a lot just with like a little Canon Power Shot. I used to love um,
Mm,
from ages like 15 through 20. I would go out and I'd just take lots of video, lots of pictures, but a lot of video, and I'd edit it to music, and sort of have these like silent or not silent. The video was silent montages put to my favorite music at the time,
mm,
and I called them weekly videos. And that was just sort of a private endeavor. that I just sort of did for myself to sort of remember my memories, because all the music was copyrighted, so I couldn't share it. And that was really fun. So I feel like I had like I have like a decent bit of camera knowledge from that, but then it's just like I don't think I want to upgrade to a nice camera. Like the phone's so easy to use and the quality is good enough. As of now, I'm not ready to like go like the next level yet. That being said, like I am trying to like take it seriously with like long format videos.
Yep.
I really want to be consistent about vlogging, either daily
Yep.
vlogging or weekly vlogging, and just sort of get like a nice long format video out there that I'm proud of.
For sure.
That would be really cool. And even my short format, I am trying to tweak a little bit. Actually, today, like an hour or two before we started this, I put out a video on all my platforms. I don't think YouTube yet, but I'll get it up there, where it's like a 2-minute long video of a viral clip of me flipping a pine snake, but I voiced over the whole thing, gave the full backstory, added in some images and details, and it took me like 4 hours to do, but it was like a lot of fun. And I think like it's a more engaging form of short content that I'm more proud of. It's not doesn't get as many views because it's longer, but hopefully that's something that I can start making more of, headed towards 2024 here. So
yeah, and bring that be a main focus. Consistency. I mean, as in the content creator world, consistency is key.
That's true.
Trying to make it consistent when you got your own personal life that you're trying to figure out. Freshly married. Where you're filming right now, this is a house you've recently moved into.
We're just renting here for now
as well. Yeah, right on. So you got a house you're moving into, and then you've got everything else that you're trying to focus on. So yeah, trying to be consistent is a good challenge. It's a good challenge. With for someone who would want to start off, you've been doing it 4 years. You've learned a lot. You've gotten far ahead. I guess 2-part question: what have you learned that is viral worthy and gets people's attention, hooks, structure, planning ahead? What's your, your planning for your content? And then the first part is, if someone was to start off, how would they start off in filming? And
so I'd say if anyone's wanting to jump into content creation, I don't know much about other kinds of content creation, but if somebody's trying to jump into wildlife, especially herp content creation, I mean, it's easy. I didn't do anything special, honestly. I really mean that. I mean, and I've actually just had a really good friend of mine named Harris. He started posting and trying to do his own content creation probably 3 months ago now. 3 to 4 months we're coming up on. And he just consistency. I mean, he had no following to start. He had a handful of flip clips of him finding snakes under things and animals under things, because he does a lot of flipping up there in Georgia, where he's from. And at first it was really slow going, but eventually he made it into what's called the TikTok Creator Fund Beta, which is like or TikTok Creativity Program Beta. And that's like, I mean, if you're starting and you're just trying to like have like some sort of like income, I mean, TikTok is right now, it's in the beta, so I don't know if it's going to change, but they've made it really easy. If you can manage to get a couple of viral videos, get up to 10K followers, you qualify for the beta program, and you can start making some serious money. A couple thousand US dollars, in a good month, which is like life changing here. Or at the very least, a couple hundred maybe for one video or something, and some nice gas money for herping. And that's what Harris did. Harris sort of just posted a lot of clips, took a long time, really got up there, and actually he just recently passed 200 million views on one of his reels on Instagram. I think my highest watched video on any platform, somewhere around like 65 million. Harris had one video go to over 200 million. We were looking online yesterday. I think it's the top 10 most viewed reels of all time currently, at 212 million or something. So, and that's just him flipping snakes for a minute long. And it's so cool. It's so cool. And he is like now,
Wow.
overnight or over the last month of this video blowing up, he now has like 350,000 followers on Instagram. I mean, it's just amazing. It's so cool because,
Wow.
I feel like content creation allows people to connect with their vocation in such an like unique way. Like we can really like use and steward the gifts God's like equipped us with in such unique ways, and get paid for it and, make a living that way. And it's so neat. So that, I guess, I sort of answer the back half of that first of like some of the, where do you go once you get a viral video in terms of like what content like should you be creating to try to grow? I'd say I'll answer that in two ways.
Yep.
One is, yes, there are undeniably sort of catchy things like hooks that make videos sort of have a higher chance of going viral. And ultimately, I will just say, God is sovereign over everything. And it was kind of weird to think about back when stuff started happening back in 2020, like, oh, God's sovereign over the TikTok algorithms too. Like nothing's outside of his, purview, of sovereignty. It's, so really, I mean, that's up to the Lord, what's going to do well and what's not, regardless of how much I endeavor. But that being said, yeah, I've noticed there's certain trends, there's certain things. The biggest thing is just keeping it short, and a video that's going to be anywhere from 8 to 15 seconds, it seems like a lot of, and algorithms are always changing. I think at least TikTok is sort of now pushing slightly longer format videos for their new creativity fund. Everything has to be like over a minute long to qualify for the new creativity fund. So you can always compile short videos that go viral. That's like what Harris did. A lot of short clips that went viral, he put into one. Yep. And I've had some success trying that as well. Not as much as him, but a little bit of success here and there. But by and large, on a lot of platforms still, a good short clip where you sort of cut right to the action. And for me, I do a lot of snake stuff. I love all animals, but I do a lot of snake stuff. And it's like, we have two options. It's like if I find a snake under some cool cover, it's like I can show the lead up. I can show me getting out of the car. I can show me walking over to it. I can, but somebody's going to, our attention spans are so short sort of in today's
3-second
media consumption. You're just going to scroll off of it. But if in the first microsecond of you watching it, you sort of see some movement or some action, or like it can be a snake moving on the road and a hand reaching down to grab it, like in the first couple frames, or it can be, just right in the middle of turning over some juicy looking cover, and there's a snake under it. I found that those videos just consistently, people want to keep watching it because they just want to watch a little bit longer. And maybe they only watch exactly. And maybe they only watch the first 2 to 3 seconds. That's all the algorithm needs to sort of keep throwing that video out there. That being said, if you're trying to make an impact and represent yourself as like an individual person and make content you're proud of, chances are you don't want to do so in 8 to 15 second clips that are sort of like hyper strategic.
Snapshot. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you don't really like, that's not really like, somebody can only know so much about you and you can only have so much of like a real impact doing that. So I like to mix it up, and I definitely want to be more intentional about mixing it up, this year of like I'd say the most important content you can create is content that you're proud of. If you are passionate about and you like the part of the video where you get out of the car and you walk up to the cover, well, then you should post that. You should post the full, raw, unedited version, because if you enjoy it, chances are somebody else does too. And if not, then it's your account and you're putting it out there for people to consume, and that's your choice. Just mix it in every couple of videos. If you need a boost, throw in something viral, throw in something cut up a little bit neater, and you can try stuff out. You can say, all right, 20 seconds was still too long. Let me try a 10-second video and leave out what I think is the good part. Maybe this will just sort of make it go more viral. And I'd say I'm against fear mongering, obviously. I would never, if I ever have a video of a snake biting me, I never make it like super clickbaity. I always like explain in the caption, or I always, say in the video that snake bites don't hurt. I don't want people to be, it can be easy once you're in the content creation world to sort of like do whatever it takes for a click. But you got to just
build it and build it. Yeah. You've got to, and that's good. That's responsible. It is hard too when it comes to snakes, because people do have that fear, as you said. What 95% you reckon of
Probably,
people
Yeah.
are fearful and just happy to kill snakes in America,
Right.
or at least where you are.
Right.
So yeah, it's easy to prey on that, and I think,
Hmm.
I mean, with some of over the past couple of years, we have seen that. I think socially, we have seen a
Hmm.
bit of that fear mongering being put forwards on a couple
Right.
subjects,
Hmm.
but to be intentional about it and trying to give valuable content that teaches people, gets them hooked,
Sure.
but then also give it in a way that is not fear mongering can be a
Right.
challenge. So
Right.
it's cool. Your tips are very valuable and important
Good.
for wildlife creators. Wildlife content creators. And you said with um, when you're flipping material, I do love those videos. I have seen a couple one of your vlogs and your videos of your flipping stuff, and I wish like you find it so easily. I'm like, I wish there was that much stuff to flip around here, because actually even in Australia, flipping stuff, you kind of flip things like wildlife. Like when you did the documentary on Vice, and you just like went up to a log and you're like, yeah, oh, nothing in there. Totally would not be able to do that unless you had like a
Really?
scientific permit, as far as I'm aware. Yeah.
Dang.
And I can't get that because
Huh.
I'm just some low level Australian Ipswich fellaroo. So not yet anyway.
Dang.
Not yet. Can't get it anyway. But yeah, so it was very interesting. I was like, man,
Huh.
that's so chalk and cheese. In regards to over there in America and over here in Australia.
I will. Are you not allowed to flip like artificial cover either? Because I know there's certain Australian herpers who like lay out tin like Americans do. Is that
Yes, I
allowed
think we're
or?
allowed to flip artificial, but if it's natural, you
Yeah.
can't. But there's nowhere I know that has artificial. Good spots anyway.
I'll help you with that. You listen. All you gotta do. Actually, that's what I talk about in my most recent video. I was talking about that I put out today. But you just go to satellite images and you just look for like farmland, like out in the country
Mm,
where farmland intersects with habitat. Trust me, like there will be some tin down. And like in America, it varies state by state. Like Florida's a pretty clean state. Like people like clean up a lot of stuff. There's a lot of no trespassing. Some other
mm,
states, there's just tin and dilapidated barns everywhere. But in
yeah.
Australia, I mean, I know some people who have found a couple flip sites out there and they've had success. So they're out there. You just gotta. It might be
Okay.
hard to
So
come by, but you can find them. Yeah.
okay. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So there's hope for us
Let's
yet.
go.
There's hope for us yet. Okay. Right on. With your uh, personal experiences and your walk
Mm.
with God, your walk with this online world. How did this all start? Did you come out of the world of the womb just holding an umbilical cord, thinking it was a snake, or like how did it work out? How did this passion, I guess, start to flame up inside?
That was a good one. Yeah. I mean, I really encouraging, supportive parents definitely helped early on. I mean, getting me toy animals to play with, plastics, dinosaurs, plastic snakes. When I was like 2 or 3, we look through picture books together, and then of course, I'd watch Jungle Jack Hanna, I'd watch Zaboomafoo and the Crap Brothers, and then, when I was old enough to remember, maybe like 4 or 5 or 6, I'd watch Steve Irwin the Crocodile Hunter. Um,
Mm.
I would watch Austin Stevens. Snake Master was a favorite of mine at the time, a South African guy
Austin
who's
Steve Snake Master. Okay.
Austin Stevens. I think in other countries it was Austin Stevens Most Dangerous, I want to say, I've heard.
Okay.
But in the US, he was Austin Stevens Snake Master. And he's a South African guy who would go and just catch, huge snakes. And it was cool. It was like what Steve did, but more specialized in snakes. So, and,
Mm.
um, and yeah, that definitely like made me want to, I mean, that channeled my love of all wildlife. Like I've never killed stuff intentionally. Kind of sounds extreme, but even like mosquitoes in the U.S., if they land on my arm, I just kind of try to blow them off. I don't. I mean, of course,
Okay.
we
Okay.
we have the dominion to as believers or whatever. We have the dominion
Graded.
as
Yeah.
God's creation to kill something if it's harming you and all the rest. I'm not.
Mm.
I
You're
submit
not
to
down for that.
God's
Okay.
word and everything there, but for me, I choose just to the pacifist approach there. I just love animals so much. I care
Okay.
about their lives a
Yeah.
lot. Um, and that has always been true. And then, yeah, like I think I learned about the term herping when I was like 13. I read it in a book and I was like, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, it's sort of like a thing. People do this, like more than just, me and Steve Irwin. And wanted to pursue that, was pretty rubbish at it. And then I'd say like in 17, I, like got a car, started road cruising more. I'd borrow my mom's van sometimes before I had my own car, and I'd go out and drive, and I'd be super excited if I could turn up like one cottonmouth or one, pygmy rattlesnake, like some of these more common snakes. I would be like over
Mm.
the moon. And then in 2019, I sort of had like a bigger break and found one of our rare species, the eastern indigo. And then the next day found a Florida pine snake, which is another rare species. The next day, a southern hognose, another rare species. I kind of had this like back-to-back streak for like a week there of like really, really rare species. Just, I don't know what happened. I mean, same areas. I was always looking for them. They just started turning up. And that sort of like opened my eyes to like, whoa, there's like herping and then there's herping. Like there's like this whole new level of like, snakes are cool, but trying to understand how they work and how to specialize finding them in their habitat.
Yeah, for sure.
Rare snakes, especially, like I didn't know there was such a level of rarity within snakes. I didn't really put that together until 2019, and then that sort of like, I mean, I became really serious about it, and then in 2020, yeah, I mean, had by God's grace was able to start posting TikToks and of me finding these snakes, and they went viral, and been doing that ever since. So
Ever
that's
since,
it.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
with your family, did your parents love snakes, or was this? I think I remember seeing on the documentary that you go out with your brother every now and again. But was it
Yeah.
just you and the family kind of led the charge of being like, yeah, wildlife, let's go catch some fellas? Like, how was that situation?
I think my mom and dad both have always liked animals. They both like, would never kill stuff growing up. At least, they would never kill a snake or anything growing up. And they wouldn't kill most, what people consider a pest either. We'd always take the cockroaches and stuff outside or the spiders outside, which I really appreciated. Um, and then my mom's pretty cool. I mean, she, the oldest of 5 boys, and she homeschooled all of us growing up, which was really neat. So we got to spend
Heck
a lot
yeah,
of time
go
outside, and
homeschoolers.
yeah, it was awesome. I mean, it was great. And she's pretty brave. I mean, I remember like one of the first, black racers I got my hands on, she had caught it. And she like let me hold it, when I was like 9 maybe. And that was really neat. So yeah. And then I mean, and she would go out, my mom would go out with me. And my dad has gone out on occasion, but he's not really much of an outdoors guy as much. My mom, though, is a big outdoors gal. And she went out with me and she's herped with me a good bit. We found some rare stuff together. She's found some rare stuff on her own. She found her first Florida pine snake before I ever did.
So she just
And
goes out by herself.
yep, sometimes never really like targeting stuff, but sometimes she'll
Just
find it.
goes
She'll
out.
she'll always catch it. She's cool.
Yeah,
And
dope.
when she's with me, she'll hold stuff. I've had her hold like venomous snakes, and she knows how to. And so she's really cool. And then yeah, my brother Noah, for a while there, he's the fourth youngest out of the 5 of us. We were just super tight, and we would um, go out every night, and he'd be like my number one herping buddy. And it's sad because I mean people grow up and they pursue their different interests, and I kind of thought that maybe he would always do that with me, but he's more into like bodybuilding now and some other things. And I don't know, we're not as close as I want to be, but hopefully we can rebuild that in new ways
Yeah,
outside of herping.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe one day we'll go herping again, and she'll get back into it. We'll see. So
Yeah, that's really cool though that your mum goes out even by herself. That's proper
yeah.
dope. I'm pretty sure
She's
I've
awesome.
not yet a mum that goes out just to go herping, and then her son goes out separately. That's crazy. That's crazy cool.
She's cool.
Was there aside from your parents, aside from your mum, sounds like she was a big impact on your development as a snake enthusiast and herper. Was there anyone else that kind of that was an example, that was a role model for you that you encountered, that you worked with on a more of a personal level? Because I mean, I would say that Steve Owen, obviously, as you've said, has had an impact on you, and these other people that you've watched have had an impact on you. But did you have someone that you went out with in person aside from your mum?
Really, really never. And it was interesting because, like I said, like my mom, I mean, she would never. I mean, she would never like. I mean, she would always catch snakes when she was out by herself, but she wouldn't really go out and target stuff. But whenever I wanted to target stuff, she would always be present to go with me. She would always be down to do
Mm.
it when I was younger. It was like when I was 15. You had to have somebody else to be in the car for you to be able to drive. You're trying to get your learner's
Yeah,
permit and stuff. And she would do that with me, and she would be a great sport about it.
awesome.
Taking the van on like rough roads, but no, I really never had anybody. I mean, Steve Irwin's a big one. Austin Stevens. I would literally watch and rewatch those guys' videos to see how they'd handle venomous snakes. Um, and then Coyote Peterson too on YouTube. I would sort of watch his stuff, and I'd be like, all right, like frame by frame, how are they pinning down the snake's head to hold it? And nowadays, I don't ever head snakes. I don't see a need to, at least with what I do. But back in the day, that I thought that's kind of like what you have to do. I didn't really know there's
Yeah, well,
better ways,
same.
or
Yeah,
So it was kind of like, all right, like if you're gonna have to pin it down, how do you do it? And so I'd study it and I'd practice, and I mean, I probably, could have got bit. I was pretty bad at it at first, but by God's grace, I never got bit trying to head a snake. So yeah.
amazing. With this Coyote Peterson situation, how did that all come about? Because that's a really cool experience to
It's
have
so
to
cool.
as someone who's so well known reach out to someone who, I mean, at the time was a little less well known and was given the opportunity to spend time with someone as awesome as he is.
Yeah.
How did that all come
Yeah. I
about?
mean, I had no following back then. I mean, it was crazy. I mean, it was really cool. I mean, Coyote, I think Nathaniel's his real name. We've sort of lost contact over the years. But he's an upstanding guy. I mean, he's just really passionate about what he does, really genuine. A lot of people come after him, call some of his content cringe. But I gotta say,
Mm.
everybody can have their own opinions and stuff. But like the way he presents himself on camera is like the way he is off camera too. He's just like a
Mm.
genuine, like goofy, fun guy to be around. So I don't know. That sort of like makes it less cringe to me. He's not like acting. That's just who he is. He just was passionate about life. But
Straight up.
but I think at the time he had only had only 500,000 subscribers on YouTube, compared to like over 20 million they have now. Brave Wilderness as a channel. So it was a smaller channel, and I had
Mm.
watched a couple of videos, and I remember like at that time I knew I wanted to be in the TV show adventure field, whatever. So I actually tracked him down after watching a couple of videos of it. I was like, this guy seems cool. Found his private Facebook and sent him a message on his private Facebook, his Nathaniel Peterson account he used to have. And I was like, hey man, like I'm 15 at the time and I'm interested in, do you guys need an extra cameraman? I've videoed before. I can learn how to hold a camera for you guys. I mean, such a nice guy to even like respond to that. And he was like, well, like we're not looking for cameraman right now, but like, we're going to like film like a newer segment called Coyote's Backyard where we like connect with like fans. Like, do you want to come on the show? And I was like, yeah, of course. So then I kind of watched
Wow.
some more of his videos, binge watched them, became more of a true fan after
Yeah.
that. And
Yeah.
then, was ready for was ready to be on it. And that was just really fun. I mean, he was just, I emailed him for like a good year or two afterwards, 2.5 years, we stayed in contact, and he was just really encouraging. And like, he was like, yep, consistency is key. Like, you can do exactly what I'm doing, like for sure. Like, and I feel like a lot of people would sort of maybe want to sort of gatekeep that or hide their success
Yeah.
for
Hi. Just
themselves. And
yeah.
he was just so kind
Genuine
and
bloke.
generous about that. It was really sweet. And yeah, I have a tender spot for him. And so yeah, I mean, that was definitely, and it was, I mean, it was crazy. It was kind of like for the first time ever too. People, I mean, he was a rising star at the time. So when my video came out,
Mm.
I had like 5 or 6 people in real life over the years come up to me and say, were you on that Coyote Peterson episode? I think that's more than I've ever had recognize me from any of my own content, actually.
Right on.
I don't ever have people come up and say, oh, are you the snake? They'll mislabel me for fishing Garrett sometimes. Are you the yoink guy? No, that's not me. That's not me. That's somebody else. I'm very successful. But it was cool though. I mean, I had people come up to me and be like, I've watched your episode about chameleons. And I was like, oh, thank you. Like, it was cool. So
Yeah, that is absolutely awesome. Well done. Like, even as a young kid, sounds like you had some gallstones to be able to reach out and it sounds like you're reading, and so you're doing a lot of personal research, and then you just stepped out. I love that, man. I love that, David. With that last point, topic you touched on is with reaching out and people recognizing you. Hey, you're like semi-famous, you're well known, people know you. How as as a young man and as a Christian, how have you
Hmm.
been able to mitigate that in your eyes responsibly? uh, was it, and then also, was it, how did it feel when people first recognized you? Or was it kind of like, oh, hey, sup?
Yeah.
Oh, I was like, yeah, sure, my guy, let's take a photo. Like, how did that experience as well feel for you?
Yeah, good question. I like it. It's a good question, Jaden. It's funny. I think right before the first video went viral, I mean, on TikTok back in like early 2020, I was in like a pretty, I mean, was single for most of my life. I had a single failed relationship that actually came from a girl saw my Coyote Peterson video and we started talking back in 2017, and that
Yeah,
didn't
right
work
on.
out. It was sort of my first love, and it was rough. And took me a long time to get over her. Emma would be much later on, and uh, a lot of singleness, a lot of loneliness, and a lot of lustfulness. That sin in that time period that I dealt with, and I knew I was like in sort of like a more of like a rough season of like just like struggling with like watching pornography at the time, or I mean, I know I mentioned this being like struggling with masturbation in hand with that, and that was just like really like consuming at the time of my life. Like that sin was such like a pernicious sin. Even having come to Christ, it was like I hate this sin, and yet I'm still falling into it.
Yeah,
A lot of shame here, and a lot of prayer and a lot of grace by Christ. I sort of had come out of that for a couple months leading up to my first video going viral, and
mm,
it was like I remember I had all these women who would come, girls my age, 20-year-old girls come into my DMs and they would message me. And I was like, this is like so cool. Like in my flesh, this was like all I would have wanted a couple months ago. But now I'm like trying to like walk
yeah,
for like what I think is honorable to Christ. Like
yeah, for sure.
I don't like I like, and of course nothing wrong to talk to a woman, but it was like
No,
there's a lustful element to it, and I knew that, but by the strength of Christ, like I didn't respond. I don't think to anybody during that time period. I was very like God gave me a lot of grace. Funny enough, by the grace of Christ, it's just like His protection for us as believers. When we stumble, I entered into another season of just like really like bad lustfulness and loneliness. Like 5 months later, maybe, and
mm.
my DMs were dry. No women were present to entice me then. And it was like, come on, like, where do they go? Like I would have fallen for it then, but now there's no.
Yeah,
And that was sort of a weirdly consistent pattern. When I'd walk with Christ, there'd be sort of more temptations in that way, and He would give me the strength to resist them. Um, by and large, sometimes I fell into temptations and sin, but by and large, and then
yeah,
other times it would be like, where did that go? So that was just sort of I never really shared that with many people, besides like my fellow Christian content creators, and they sort of had similar experiences sometimes. And it's kind of cool to see how God
okay,
will protect His own during that
yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And that's, yeah, because I would think, yeah, good looking guys yourself would definitely create some sort of magnetization. Uh, have when people do meet you in person, um, and staying humble, I guess, both accepting the gift that you've been given and the skill that you have. Uh, when you meet people, what's the interaction there? Does it happen often? Does it happen once a month? Is it not super common for you? What's your
I,
experience
I
with
don't feel like
fans
it's
greeting you?
yeah. No, I don't feel like it's super common. I mean, like I said, maybe 10 times or less have I had people recognize me. Um,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
one time was cool because these guys, like, he was like, Emma and I, we were up in North Georgia, the state above us, and we were
Mm.
at a coffee shop. And then I guess like he'd been following me. He had messaged me years ago even. And I knew who he was when he said it. But he was like, I think I follow you. I think I've messaged you. I was like, no way. His name's Josh. And his family like owned the coffee shop. And I was like, that's so random. Like that's, what a small world in a way. And then we went herping together that afternoon. We didn't find anything, but we went, we tried, and that was fun.
Yeah,
And
cool.
we're still friends. He's a cool guy. But that's like one of the only times something like that's happened, really. Other times people will be like,
Okay.
oh, I think I've seen your content, and that's all.
Yeah.
Herpers within the community recognize me like while I'm out like on roads.
Yeah.
Most herpers have it out for me.
Really
Yeah, most herpers
interesting.
have it out for me. I
Why do you
mean,
think that is?
realistically, I think jealousy, and I don't say that in any sort of prideful way, but I think just like
No.
knowing the human heart and like my own sense of jealousy. Before I had a following, I used to struggle with jealousy, and even still, I have to really.
Mm.
I mentioned Fishing Garrett earlier.
Mm.
Wow, what, six
He's done
million
great.
subscribers
Yeah.
on Instagram? It's incredible, and I think,
Yeah.
why not me, Lord? Why not? And I have to just really catch myself and recognize that sin of jealousy for what it is, and instead be like,
Yeah.
no, like, Lord, like you give and you take away to whoever you choose, and like we get to like be grateful for that. But I think jealousy, so I can say, speaking from experience, jealousy is powerful. I think a lot of people sort of would like to get paid to herp or have more of a reach with it. And I think that sort of breeds a lot of like contention. A lot of people have these like
Discontentment.
false
Yeah.
impressions of me, but it's cool. I
Yeah.
will say, I like, if they give me the chance, I love meeting herpers who have it out for me, because I like to try to surprise them. I think they think I'm
Yeah.
going to
Be
be
like, hey,
like,
I'm actually kind of cool.
yeah, like I'm just like them. Like I'm not like, realistically, everybody's a micro celebrity nowadays. There's so many people who have a following. It's not even like I'm special. And beyond that, like I'm just a person. Like I just love finding snakes like you guys do. And like let's just like get along and
Mm.
have fun. And like we don't have to
Yeah.
see eye to
Straight
eye on
up.
every, maybe you collect and I don't. Maybe I film videos that you deem cringy and you don't. Like that's cool, but like let's just get along still,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's been cool. There's been some people who have sort of given me a chance, I feel like, and we're sort of cool, or we've become, I don't know about friends. We've become cool. A lot of haters have sort of become cool with, and some people just
Yeah. Yeah.
they block me, and and they have it out for me, and that's that. So I don't know.
Yeah, you can't really get past that. You kind of
No,
cut. Yeah,
no.
I look the jealousy thing. I can attest to being an equal challenge. Also,
Yeah.
have just kind of as we land the plane as well, David, with the community that you mentioned, that you community with other herpers and that sort of thing. Has what you do with your content, has it created better connections kind of further up the echelon as such? And have you been able to create connections, and how have those connections come about? And how have those connections come about, if you've had any?
I'd say not really, honestly. Again, like there's one guy recently who was a super sweet guy who reached out to me, and he invited me out and allowed me to herp in his property that he had just purchased, and it was like such a
Mm,
sweet thing. He even paid me to be out there. Like I should be paying him, but he like paid me to come and look for snakes in his property. It's so cool.
right on.
Upstanding guy, yeah. And that was neat. I know he had mentioned that he had a couple friends who worked for the Florida Wildlife Commission, FWC. So hopefully one day, maybe I can get to meet some of them and sort of like show my heart to them more. I don't really know,
Yep.
what, if our connection will stay, me and that guy. We'll see. But in terms of like the scientific community, I feel like, again, a lot of like a lot of the actual herpetologists who go to school for it, those are a lot of the ones that don't like me. So I don't really have much to do in that world.
Okay.
I would love to contribute and such, and to some of that, to studies or conservation in some of those ways if I could. But I haven't really had anybody who's been kind enough to sort of want to bridge any of that with me. I mean, that being
Mhm.
said, there's lots of herpers I'm currently friends with in the community who are going into herpetology. So I'll have those connections in the next generation to come. I mean, there's a friend of mine named Zach who lives out in Mississippi right now. He's going to school out there, and he's just such a cool guy. Like, he is so smart when it comes to herping. He actually has his
Yeah.
own YouTube channel. I think it's Life's Wild Adventures, I want to
His
say.
life's wild. What did you do a video with
Yeah,
him? He was
with
wearing a
Zach. Yeah,
Pokemon
we did.
shirt
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
he's such a sweet guy, and he's, I
yeah.
mean,
He seems cool.
he's so smart, and he's like, he knows the angle. So like, I feel like for now, like with like my sciencey questions, or like wanting to like know about how to conserve population, I'm like asking him questions. So I like him a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he seemed like a cool guy, and you
Yeah.
were out in a swampland, and you still found a snake. I
Yeah.
was like, in
Yeah.
Australia,
Western
at
mud
least
snake. It
with
was
my
so cool.
experience, would not find anything like that. I think,
Really? Huh.
no,
You don't got like
not
water
at
pythons out
least
there?
maybe north water pythons,
Okay.
yes, north,
Okay.
but down here in Brisbane, there's
Hmm.
no sort of the closest thing you might get to a water snake might be a keelback, which is a non-venomous
Yeah.
species of snake that eats toads.
Yeah.
But that's
Huh.
about it. There are other species that hang around water, but I think they're the
Sure.
most water and
Yeah.
red bellies, maybe.
Interesting.
Yeah, red bellies
Interesting.
too. Um,
Huh.
but there was one more with what's your end goal? That's what I'd like to finish on. What your end
Good
goal is, and
question.
where you see yourself in 10 years, 20 years time. Is this the thing that you reckon old mate David Orin gonna be YouTuber extraordinaire for your whole life, or do you have grander goals or simpler goals? Would you like, what do you see yourself completing in your lifetime?
The honest answer is I tend to not think about the future more than 3 months ahead at a time, typically by each herp season. I mean, honestly, I'm not a big 5-year plan guy, 10-year plan guy.
Yeah.
That being said, of course, if I do put my mind to it, I would, Emma and I have talked about maybe waiting to have kids 6 to 8 years.
Mm.
I mean, the Lord will, I don't know, you can only control so much, but
Yeah.
hopefully,
Good
we
luck
can
with
sort
that.
of, yeah, thank you. Hopefully we can, for a time, sort of just enjoy each other, in this new marriage. And, yeah, I mean, try to grow content and build that up. So if I do have a family down the road, I really can be fully sustained.
For sure.
And the dream too would be like not being limited by one kind of content. So like, if I could do like daily vlogs and it wouldn't just have to be herp content. I mean, that's what I love doing. I'm passionate about herp content, but like family content, marriage content, like, helpful, practical things about like working through conflict together as like,
Mm.
two believers who are married, or whatever, and all the rest. Eventually, if we have a family, there's lots of people who do like family vlogs and stuff. So that would be cool. Lord willing, if YouTube sticks around and they don't change too many of their policies, and I don't get kicked off for catching snakes. And, that would be really, really cool. I mean, that would be a dream, just to sort of make and display my life, good, bad, and ugly, for years to come. I mean, that would be a dream. So,
Yeah, right on. Okay, fantastic. That sounds like a cool plan. A good
oh,
plan to
thanks,
have.
man. Thank you, Jaden.
It's good. All the best with it, because yeah, online is the world that we're going into. That I think
Yeah.
that we're moving into, and it's
Yeah.
you've got your foot. You've got more than a foot. You've got like a couple legs in the door on that
Oh, thank you.
subject. So that's fantastic. But David, look, thank you for your time. And for coming on the show, it's been really cool. I've really enjoyed this conversation.
Me
If
too.
if people want to reach out to you, or what platforms can people find you on?
Yeah. I'm on YouTube. That's what I'm trying to grow right now. You actually just pointed out to me before we started, I just passed 50K in there, which was like just a dream for me. Something I was sort of feels like the first big milestone. So that's really cool. Want to be going hard in the vlogs this spring. So look out for those, some more long format stuff on TikTok. sort of messing around there. Instagram is the platform I care about the most right now. I post my story all the time, just everything. I have like a little group there, a new feature. I'm just sort of messaging and saying stuff to people.
Yeah.
And I read every single one of my DMs. I don't get that many. And so I read them all. And, I try to respond to everybody who has, a genuine question about anything. So I'd love to hear from you guys. If you want to go out herping sometime, you need some tips, let me know. I'd love to take you out or set you in the right direction. So it'd be awesome.
Right on. And that's just under David Orin.
Sorry. Yeah. YouTube's David Orin. You'll find me. TikTok's David Orin. If you search David Orin on Instagram, you'll find me, but technically it's Advent Orin. It's supposed to be like adventurin, Advent, adventurin. But then everybody says Advent Orin. So that's, oh well. I try to change it to David Orin, but then David Orin's taken by some random person. So, oh well.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
Oh, the name of the podcast was taken by someone on Instagram. And I was like, that's right. I'll just put like a little underscore thing on each side.
There you go.
It's fine. Oh,
I should have done that.
Fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, still good. But look, again, David, thanks, man. I look forward to the time that you come over to Australia. Maybe we can go herping and find some
come over to Florida.
Cool things. I honestly,
I was guest room right here for you. So
right on. Well, sounds like a plan. America, here I come in when I have the dollars and the time. Here I come.
That same, yeah. That's what's keeping me back too. So, but eventually we'll get over there.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, thanks again, David. You're awesome, dude, and all the best for the future.
Thank you. You as well.
Thank you for watching or listening to today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to find more information on today's guest or more information on the podcast, you can find those details in the description below. Otherwise, I hope and look forward to seeing you in the next one.